cross live to New York, where Caroline Woods, our U.S. business correspondent, is waiting to discuss the market's opening and the latest business news making headlines in the United States. Hi, Caroline. So let's kick things off with our favorite topic, shall we? Politics. President Trump's immigration policy is getting defeated in the courtroom. What exactly happened, Caroline?
That's right. On Monday, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from denying asylum claims to immigrants who illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border. The U.S. district judge, who's in San Francisco, issued the order to take effect immediately, and it will remain in effect until December 19th of this year, which is when there will be a hearing to consider a more long-lasting injunction. Now, in the order, the judge wrote, quote, "Whatever the scope of the president's authority, he may not rewrite the immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden." The Trump administration's rule was issued earlier this month and bans most asylum claims from immigrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. Seeking asylum means someone who's looking for political protection from another country because they can't return to their own country because of persecution based on race or religion, nationality, political opinion, or maybe membership in a particular social group. Now, advocates argue it's illegal to block someone from seeking asylum based on how they entered the country, and that the administration also violated the Administrative Procedure Act by not providing public notice or comment on the rule. Previous Trump immigration policies, including measures targeting sanctuary cities, have also been blocked by the courts. Now, the asylum ruling comes as thousands of Central Americans, including a large number of children, are traveling in caravans towards the U.S. border to escape violence and poverty at home. Some have already arrived at Tijuana, which is a Mexican city that borders California. You may recall just a few weeks ago, Trump sent more than 5,000 soldiers to harden the U.S.-Mexico border, although critics claim they kind of dismiss the move as a political stunt ahead of the midterm elections earlier this month. Now, I will say a U.S. official said yesterday that President Trump is likely to give U.S. troops authority to protect immigration agents stationed along the U.S. border with Mexico if they come under threat from those migrants seeking to cross into the U.S. Currently, the troops do not have authority to protect U.S. Customs and Border Patrol personnel. So we'll see if there's any announcement about that authority later today.
Well, Caroline, thank you. Seems like things are intensifying on that front. Now, meanwhile, internationally, after the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, there are reports that some Saudi royals are turning against the king's favorite son. What more do we know about that?
Yes, Reuters is reporting that some members of Saudi Arabia's ruling family are attempting to prevent Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman from becoming king. This comes amid international uproar over the killing of Khashoggi last month. Sources say dozens of princes and cousins from powerful branches of the Al Saud family want to see a change in the line of succession, but that they would not act while King Salman, the Crown Prince's 82-year-old father, is still alive. They recognize that the king is unlikely to turn against his favorite son, known in the West as MBS. Rather, they are discussing the possibility with other family members that after the king's death, Prince Ahmed bin Abdulaziz, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Tripping over my words here. Abdulaziz, his 76-year-old younger brother, could take the throne. Prince Ahmed is King Salman's only surviving full brother, and sources told Reuters that he would have the support of family members, the security apparatus, and some Western powers. Prince Ahmed returned to Riyadh back in October after 2.5 months abroad. During the trip, I don't know if you remember, but he appeared to criticize the Saudi leadership while responding to protesters outside a London residence chanting for the downfall of the Al Saud dynasty. He was one of only 3 people on the Allegiance Council made up of the ruling family senior members who apparently opposed MBS becoming crown prince back in 2017. Now, the reason this is up for discussion is because the House of Saud is made up of hundreds of princes, and unlike typical European monarchies, there's no automatic succession from father to eldest son. Instead, the kingdom's traditions dictate that the king and senior members of the family from each branch select the heir they consider fittest to lead. doesn't sound like MBS has the support from his family members when the time does come.
Well, thank you, Caroline. We're going to turn to the economy now really quickly, because a new Reuters poll is showing that the U.S. is heading or inching higher towards a recession. Now, how worrisome are these results, Caroline?
Well, Lydia, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is the chances of a recession are still low.
Okay.
The bad news is, as you said, the chance of a recession is ticking higher.
Okay.
The latest monthly Reuters survey of economists showed the probability of a U.S. recession in the next 2 years nudged up to a median 35%. That's from a previous 30%. It held at 15% for the next 12 months. Now, many developed economies are already slowing, but growth here in the U.S., which is the world's largest economy, is still solid. We're riding the tail end of that $1.5 trillion tax cut boost, and official unemployment is the lowest in nearly half a century. But that boost is forecast to fade this quarter, with growth slowing by more, slowing more by the end of next year, as the trade standoff with China shows no signs of letting up. Now, as for the Federal Reserve, it's still expected to raise interest rates again next month and then 3 times next year. But a strong majority of economists polled by Reuters over the past week say the risk is it will slow down that pace. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Caroline, it looks like things are still pretty strong on that front. And I think 2 years is enough time to actually see some kind of turnaround. Now, several big retailers are out with quarterly results this morning. What kind of picture are these results painting?
Yeah, it's a huge day for retail earnings today, with Target, TJX, Kohl's, Gap, Best Buy, and Lowe's all reporting ahead of the bell. As for what kind of picture they're painting, I'd say so far it's pretty mixed. We'll start with Target. The Walmart and Amazon rival reported disappointing quarterly earnings. Also, comparable store sales were up more than 5%, but came in slightly lower than expected. Revenue did beat, and Target maintained its outlook for the full year. In fact, Target said it's better positioned for this holiday season than ever before. Also of note, digital sales soared 49% in the quarter, so pretty impressive there. So it wasn't all bad news, but it seems like investors may be focused on the negative. Shares have been down as much as 11% in pre-market trading. Moving on to Lowe's, the home improvement chain reported quarterly earnings and revenue that surpassed estimates. However, it posted a smaller than expected rise in same-store sales and cut its full-year sales outlook. Also said it's looking to get rid of its stores in Mexico as it restructures to better compete with larger rival Home Depot. That's after it already announced store closures in the U.S. and Canada. As for the electronics retailer Best Buy, it topped with profit, revenue, and comparable store sales, also raised its full-year guidance. Similar story for Kohl's. It beat on all 3 fronts as well. Of course, this is the crucial period for retailers right now, the current quarter, which includes the holiday sales. So the reports, aside from the guidance that we saw, are really kind of looking back. So the key crucial period is this quarter. The kickoff is really this Friday, Black Friday, though many retailers have already started their sales and slashed their prices. So as these retailers have their conference calls today, we'll listen closely as to what they have to say, about this key holiday shopping period and their outlook looking forward.
Well, Caroline, now let's get a check at stocks. We saw some weakness yesterday, especially in technology. So how are the markets positioned to open today?
Oh, man, it looks like losses are the name of the game yet again today. Taking a look at the futures, the Dow futures are down 1.4%. That's about 350 points. The NASDAQ down about 2.2%. And S&P futures are down about 1.4%. Those disappointing results from Target, or mixed results from Target, likely not going to help sentiment either. This follows, as you said, another rough day on Wall Street yesterday. The Dow and S&P shed about 1.5%. As you mentioned, tech was by far and away the worst performing sector. Apple continued to be a big drag with concerns about iPhone demand. Also, Facebook posted steep losses, sliding to more than a 1-year low. It's on pace to finish its 3rd straight month in the red, which would be its longest monthly losing streak ever. That being said, it looks like tech is going to continue its slide today. Apple is getting a price target. Its price target slashed to $182 a share from Goldman Sachs. That's down from $209. It's currently trading around $185. So it implies even more downside. As for what else I'm watching today, aside from this tech carnage, of course, the retailers amid the slew of earnings reports. But we also got results from Campbell's Soup. Both earnings and revenue exceeded forecasts ahead of a key shareholder vote on its board next week. The company said it's seeing improved trends in soup sales. So it could be good news for the stock today. We'll have to wait and see. That might be a big bright spot. Also, Hormel, which makes foods like Spam and Dinty Moore, its profit beat revenue, but was slightly it beat on profit, but revenue was slightly below estimates. Now, in terms of economic data, we are getting some reads on housing starts and building permits coming in just now. We'll also get a read on consumer sentiment a little bit later, so we'll see how that impacts sentiment. Also, I've been watching Bitcoin. It plunged to a new low for the year of $4,200. I saw a stat on CNBC that since its high last December, Bitcoin is now down more than 76%. So clearly still struggling to find a bottom, and it looks like stocks are following Bitcoin's suit. We are looking at a significantly lower open this morning.
Well, something at least that is working out right is the soup that is selling more because of the weather. Now, I know Thanksgiving holiday is fast approaching, Carolina. So the new report shows that the amount of Americans traveling had hit its highest level in more than a dozen years. Just how many people are we talking?
Yes, according to transportation nonprofit AAA Northeast, more than 54 million Americans will hit the roads, the rails, and the skies this holiday week. That's the highest Thanksgiving travel volume since 2005, when a record was set. AAA estimates a nearly 5% increase in Americans traveling more than 50 miles from home to celebrate Thanksgiving. They say higher wages, more disposable income, and rising levels of household wealth are contributing to that uptick. So lots to be thankful for this year. However, the vast majority of those traveling will be doing so by car, and one thing they may not be thankful for is traffic. Global traffic data and analytics firm INRIX estimates 48.5 million people will travel by automobile. That's also a nearly 5% uptick from last year. And most New Yorkers plan to get a head start, with the highest numbers leaving tonight after work. There are warnings of total gridlock traffic during rush hour tonight here in the Big Apple as people try to beat the rush. I guess it doesn't always pay off to get a head start. I will say I'm driving to see my family, but won't be leaving until Thanksgiving morning, which is Thursday. So I certainly hope everyone else has already made it to their destinations by then, so I don't have to deal with gridlock on Thanksgiving.
Well, Caroline, thank you so much for joining me to discuss this. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Arise U.S. business correspondent there, Caroline Woods. You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News. It's time now for a short break, but there's heightened uncertainty.